For my returning viewers, I know it's been a while since I posted a video. Thank you so much for being patient with me. Jeff and I actually got married, so I had to take some time off to do some wedding planning and stuff. We just had like a smaller, casual backyard wedding with no coordinator, so I actually really did need to take some time off to plan all that. But now that that's over with, I am so excited to get back to Grit and Groceries, to get back into the kitchen and develop more recipes for you guys and to put out more videos. So again, thank you for being patient with me. For those of you who are new here, my name is Brittany. I'm a health coach and nutritionist, and my channel is all about helping people with IBS reduce their symptoms and improve their lives, mainly through low FODMAP recipes, but I also have some tips and tricks for IBS for you guys. So if that interests you, please hit the subscribe button for more videos. All right, so today we are going to be making a sweet and spicy penne alla vodka with sun-dried tomatoes and spicy Italian sausage. This is one of my favorite quick and easy comfort foods, right? Because it doesn't have a ton of ingredients and it's made out of stuff that I usually keep on hand all the time. So like I mentioned, today we are going to be using hot Italian sausage. You could use sweet, you could use mild, whatever you want. Just make sure it doesn't have like a ton of garlic in it. You could also use, like, if you like ground beef or ground turkey, ground pork, whatever. And I will show you how to doctor that up and kind of give it more of a sausagey flavor when we go over to the stove and cook it up. We're also going to be using Tinkyata gluten-free pasta, which is the best gluten-free pasta in my opinion. I know I've talked about it many times. This one is great because it has like a really good texture and it doesn't get mushy. And I know that's a thing that gluten-free pasta struggles with. You can find this in health food stores like Sprouts, Mother's, probably Whole Foods. I don't really go to Whole Foods because we don't have one near me. But I have seen this in other stores like Ralph's and Stater Brothers. But if you can't find it in the store near you, I will leave a link down below. You can order it in bulk off of Amazon. And I do make like a little bit of money from it, like cents on the dollar, but it does help me out. So if you guys want to purchase it through my link, I would really appreciate that. We are also going to be using a little bit of crushed red pepper to give it some heat, sun-dried tomatoes to give it that sweetness, garlic oil, of course, always garlic oil, vodka. You could skip the vodka in this recipe if you wanted. If you're not sure how your body's gonna handle alcohol, that's totally fine. It won't have like the same flavor because it does give it like a little something extra, but that's totally fine if you don't want to risk upsetting your stomach. But we are going to be cooking off the alcohol, so like you're not going to get like drunk from this sauce or anything. We are going to be using dairy today, butter and heavy cream for our sauce. Since these are both fat-based, right? So there's no carbohydrates in heavy cream, which means there's no sugars, which means there's no FODMAPs. Because of that, I believe that heavy cream is technically low FODMAP, even though it doesn't really say it on the Foddy app. But you do have to be careful with how much you consume. I can typically have about 1/4 of a cup of heavy cream before getting any symptoms. And I don't really like know what's causing the symptoms. I mean, there are other things in dairy that can mess people up. So that's why it's really important to go through the reintroduction phase of the low FODMAP diet so that you know what your exact limitations are. Like I said, I know that mine is about 1/4 of a cup. We are gonna be using a 1/2 cup total today and our recipe serves 4. So that means that you're gonna be having a total of 2 tablespoons of heavy cream per serving. If dairy does not agree with you, this might not be the recipe for you, but you could substitute the butter with like duck fat or beef tallow, something like that. And then you could substitute the heavy cream with coconut cream, but it won't like exactly taste the same, but you could do that. So the things that we're gonna be using today that have FODMAPs in them are tomato paste and sun-dried tomatoes. We are gonna be using this whole can, but again, since this recipe is for 4 people, you're only gonna be getting about 1 tablespoon of tomato paste per serving. Sun-dried tomatoes also have FODMAPs in them because they are dried. It's a concentrated form of the sugars that are in tomatoes. We're gonna be using about half this jar today. So, you know, you're not gonna get a ton of sun-dried tomatoes per serving. So that's why it works in this recipe. And What also makes this recipe low FODMAP is, other than skipping the garlic, we're gonna be using less cream than most penne alla vodka recipes call for. And we're gonna be substituting that with bone broth. Well, if you don't have any homemade bone broth on hand, you could use just like all pasta water in this to help give you enough sauce and enough moisture for the recipe. But I happen to have a little bit of bone broth here. It's about a cup that needs to be used. So I am gonna be throwing that into the recipe, and it is gonna give it like a little bit more flavor. But like I said, it's totally fine if you don't have any. Okay, what else? If you are allergic to nightshades, or if nightshades don't agree with you, then this is not the recipe for you because it's tomato based and it has the crushed red pepper. But you could do something very similar with pumpkin. And I have a video that's like a creamy pumpkin sage pasta, so I'll leave that linked down below for you guys if you want to check that out, if you have a nightshade sensitivity. Okay, so I think that's all that I wanted to go over with the ingredients with you guys. So let's start prepping our ingredients. Okay, so I'm just going to slice the sausage on a diagonal. And this is because I'm gonna do it right here in this styrofoam because I don't want to dirty the cutting board. But I'm doing this because it's gonna give us a little bit more surface area. Okay, that didn't actually like work out. Okay, so like I was saying, I'm gonna do this on a diagonal, and that is because it's going to give us more surface area to brown. And more browning means more flavor. And we're just gonna open this can of tomato paste, and that's all we have for prep. So like I was saying, very quick, very easy recipe. All right, so let's go over to the stove and cook everything up. Okay, we are going to start by boiling a large pot of water, and you wanna make sure to use a lot of water for this gluten-free pasta. I don't know why, it just requires a lot of water. So let's do that. All right, now that this has come up to temperature, you wanna make sure to add salt to your water before you're adding your pasta. Woo! All right, I know that seems like a lot of salt, but this is like your opportunity to salt the pasta. You want your water to be salty like the sea, that's what they say. You also don't want your salt to be like sitting at the bottom, that's why I wait till it comes up to temperature and then add it. All right, now the directions on the back of this pasta say to cook it for 14 to 15 minutes. I'm gonna set the timer for 12 minutes because I do not wanna risk overcooking this pasta and it getting all mushy, because we are going to finish it by putting it in the sauce and then finish cooking it there. So we're only gonna bring it up we're only gonna cook it until it's al dente. Okay, so while that is cooking, we are going to start browning our sausage. Oops, wrong burner. Okay, so I've got a large stainless steel skillet here that I'm going to preheat, bring up to temperature, and then we're just gonna add our sausage and brown it with a little bit of butter and crushed red pepper. So let's give this a minute to heat up, and then we'll do that. These ones didn't get cut through all the way. Oh well. All right, so we are going to spread out our sausage here so it can brown properly. And the key with browning meat is to not continuously stir it, just leave it alone and let it brown. Okay? So if you are using like ground beef, ground pork, ground sausage, ground beef, ground pork, ground turkey, and you wanted to give it like a sausagey flavor, what you could do is add fennel seeds, oregano, rosemary, Italian seasoning, as long as it doesn't have garlic and onion in there, and then just kind of mix it up and flatten it into the pan. And again, the same thing, leave it alone, let it brown. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna stir the sausage. And see how since I left them alone, it has like amazing browning like that? This is exactly what we're looking for, because that's a Maillard reaction, which again is flavor. Okay, so see how all of this stuff is sticking to the bottom of the pan? That's great. That's exactly what we want, because we are going to use this for flavor for our sauce. Another thing that you could do if you were using mild or sweet sausage is you could add a little crushed red pepper to your sausage while they're cooking to kind of give your sausage a little bit of spice. But since these are spicy sausage, I don't really need to do that. Okay, so our timer has gone off for our pasta after 12 minutes, so let's give it a taste and see where it's at. Okay, it's nice and al dente. It needs to cook like a tiny bit more, but it's gonna continue to cook. So I'm gonna pull it from the water now and drain it. But before we do that, I'm gonna reserve some of this pasta water. So I'm just got a measuring cup here, and I'm just gonna put it in on the side. I'll take about a cup, which is plenty. Okay, so we've got our pasta all drained, and our sausage is pretty much brown. So I'm going to take these and just put them in a bowl and set it aside while we make our sauce. Okay, I'm gonna turn this heat down to medium, and then I'm going to add our tomato paste. So we're adding the tomato paste to all of this fat to actually caramelize the sugars that are in the tomato paste. Okay, I'm actually going to also add about a teaspoon of crushed red pepper. Now again, you can add however much you like, depending on how spicy you like it. So see how our tomato paste has kind of absorbed all the fat in the pan, we're gonna add another tablespoon of butter. And you'll see once the tomato paste kind of absorbs the fat, it kind of gives like a looser texture, and that's what we're looking for. You'll see it like starts to smell kind of sweet, which is exactly what we want. That's how we know that the sugars are caramelizing. Okay, see that beautiful texture? It's exactly what we're looking for. That's how we know we have enough fat in there. Okay, so next, we are going to deglaze our pan with half a cup of vodka, which, okay. All right, I'm gonna turn up the heat a little bit because you do wanna deglaze on high heat. So I'm gonna give that a minute. Now once we pour this in, we're gonna be using our wooden spoon to scrape the bottom and break up those bits and release them from the pan. Okay. So at first when you add the vodka, you will start to, it'll smell like alcohol-y, but as you continue to cook it, that alcohol smell will start to burn off, and then it'll smell sweet again. You wanna make sure that you cook it down until all the alcohol has evaporated and cooked off, otherwise your sauce won't taste right. Still smells like vodka to me. So we're gonna let that cook and continue to caramelize a little bit longer. And I'm gonna add a little bit more crushed red pepper while we're waiting for that to cook off. About another teaspoon. And then I'm going to add a tablespoon of garlic oil. Okay, so now this, the alcohol smell has burned off, and now we're going to add our bone broth. Now, if you didn't have any bone broth, that's fine. You could just add the pasta water, but I'm gonna use bone broth because it gives it a little extra flavor, and I had it in the fridge, it needed to be used. So that was about a cup of bone broth. If you're using only pasta water in this recipe and not bone broth, make sure you save more than a cup of pasta water. You're probably gonna need about 1.5 cups. Okay, see how that's becoming a nice texture of sauce? Okay, now we are going to turn down the heat to a medium-low. And we're gonna add our cream. Okay, so we're gonna slowly mix this in. Oh my God, look at that beautiful color. Okay, make sure I get all this tomato paste that's on the sides. Kind of scrape that down into our sauce. Oh my God, so good. It's got the sweetness from the tomato paste, but also like that spice in there. Okay, so now that this is all combined and heated through, we're going to add our pasta back and toss it all up. Okay, so I'm going to add this. Another thing that we didn't do is we didn't rinse our pasta because gluten-free pasta usually does call for it to be rinsed. But this we didn't do, so it kind of like helps to thicken our sauce from the starch that's left on the pasta. So this is the point at which we're going to be adding our pasta water to help us kind of like loosen up this sauce and give it like a little bit more like wetness and like kind of make it like more cohesive. See how that just kind of helps it become more of like a sauce? It just needed a like more moisture. But since it's the pasta water, it's got the starch in there, it's going to help it be like a sauce and not be like super watery, you know? Okay, and since we pulled our pasta early, it's not all breaking up when we're mixing it up. So let me taste it really quick to see where we're at with like the tenderness level. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more pasta water. Okay, now I'm gonna turn off the heat and we are going to finish adding it back in our sausage and our sun-dried tomatoes. But first, I forgot to mention that we're gonna be putting some Parmesan in there. So let me grab that and add that. Okay, so now we're just gonna grate this directly into our pasta. You can add as much or as little as you like. Again, do not use pre-grated Parmesan. Don't do that. It's covered in anti-caking agents. It's not food, it's bad for you. It's gonna destroy your gut lining. Don't do that. Okay, if I go any further on this Parmesan, I'm gonna cut my knuckles. So, I'm gonna give this a little mix, and then what I'm going to do is, I'm gonna break out some manchego that I have in the fridge. So it's gonna have a little bit more of a complex flavor today, but that's fine, I'm not mad at it. If you are a person that struggles with dairy from cows, manchego could be a good option for you because it is made out of sheep's milk. But if you've never had manchego before, you might want to try it before you put it in your whole like pot of pasta, because since it is sheep's milk, it does have a little bit of a gamey flavor. Okay, let's mix that in. You see how we're getting like the cheese, I don't know, what are those called? Like the cheese pull kind of things? Gooey. Yeah, thank you. That looks so good. Okay, so now it's time to add back our sausage. And we are also going to add about half of this jar of sun-dried tomatoes. This is gonna add some really nice sweetness and some really good texture. Oh my God, that looks so good. Okay. One last thing that you could add to this pasta, if you want to, is spinach. If you want to get like a little extra greens in there, you could totally just take some baby spinach out of the fridge, toss it in there, and toss it together, and it'll wilt it, it'll be beautiful. I really like to do that, but I'm not gonna do it today because I have some beautiful pasta that we're gonna use for garnish, or some beautiful basil that we're gonna use for garnish. Okay, so let's do a quick taste test to see if we need any salt. Just a teensy bit, since our pasta water was heavily salted. We had salt in the bone broth, salt in the sausage. We just need like probably about a half a teaspoon to really make it pop. The cheese is very salty too. All right, let's go dish it up. Okay, I'm so excited to eat this. All right, let's hit this with a little bit more manchego. Or Parmesan, whatever you're using. Let's grab some of this basil for a garnish. I'm just gonna pick off some of these larger leaves. I'm so excited it's spring because basil is in season here in spring. Okay, so I'm just gonna layer the leaves up like this, and then I'm gonna kind of roll them up. And then what we're gonna do is we're just going to cut little, like thinly slice it. See how this gives us like these beautiful ribbons? This is technically called a chiffonade, and I love it. It makes me feel so fancy. I'm just gonna throw a little bit of this on top. Beautiful. And then if you wanna get crazy, a little bit more crushed red pepper. All right, let's dig in. Take a little bit of basil. Seriously, one of my all-time favorite pastas. So good, you guys, you need to make this. Especially if like pasta is one of your comfort foods. Highly recommended. Oh my God, so it's like, there's a little bit of sweetness from the tomato paste, like I said, and caramelizing all those sugars since we took the time to do that. We've got more sweetness from the sun-dried tomato. Let me get some of that. And this sausage right here. Let's see. So savory. So amazing. I love sausage. I would love to make my own sausage one day. I'm just not there yet, but for the time being, store-bought sausage is gonna have to do because I love it. I need it in my life. We've got sort of like a nutty saltiness from the Parmesan and a little gaminess from the Manchego. It's nice and creamy. It feels super decadent and creamy, even though we didn't really even put that much cream in there. It's because we used the starch from the pasta water to help us give us that texture. And then extra flavor from the broth. I love the basil too, because it gives it kind of like a sweetness, like a different kind of sweetness and like a freshness that comes through because this is a very rich dish. But if you don't have any basil, you could totally use green onion, parsley, whatever you have on hand. The pasta is perfect in this. And that's because we pulled it early and only cooked it till it was al dente. And then we put it back into the sauce and finished it. Cause yeah, I've done this so many times where I have cooked it to the package directions and it was like perfect when I took it out. And then it sat while I made the sauce and then I added it back in and then it just got too mushy and all the noodles fell apart. So don't do that. Pull your pasta early. I also just wanted to say, I know that I'm not using penne today. Forgot to mention this earlier. I know like traditionally penne alla vodka is like the dish it usually is. But I think you can do this with any short noodle, really. I think it works best. You could do it with a long noodle, but I think since we're doing like chunks of sausage and sun-dried tomatoes, a short noodle works better. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for clicking on this video. Please like it, please share it. Share it with somebody who is always complaining of stomach issues or somebody that you know is trying to give up gluten. It's hard to give up something that you love. And once you find like a good substitute for that thing, it makes it so much easier. It makes it really like doable for the long run, right? Because we want this to be a sustainable lifestyle change. That's what it really takes to completely transform your digestive health. You have to transform your diet. You have to transform your life. Okay, so again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much to my Patreon supporters. I know it's been, like I said, it's been a while since I uploaded a video. Thank you guys for being patient with me. And I will leave a link down below for anybody else who would like to support this channel through Patreon. It starts at $3 a month. Okay, so we are going to start doing some live streams. I know I've been talking about that for a while, but we are gonna do it. And the people who are a part of the Patreon, they're going to be able to vote on the things that we are going to make. All right, I think that's everything. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time.